Hi friends, Lynn McGonigal here with Jamie McGonigal. We are in front of the Judicial Center that houses the Supreme Court. It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2014. Our assignment for today is to conduct a Lightworkers Healing Method session, Angelically-Guided multidimensional energy healing session for soul purpose, with the intention of helping all of us come into alignment with truth, with being a stand for truth, with conducting a search for truth in our lives and in the world around us, to examine our thinking, our speech, our actions for integrity and for truth, and to evaluate the actions of the world around us for truth as well, and to notice that when we have our channels up to the higher dimensions, that then and only then is truth consistently available to us. So what better place than in front of the Supreme Court of the United States of America to be a stand for truth. Strands of goopy things that have the taste or sensation of trauma, all the traumas that people have, perhaps to do with times that they were engaged in searches for truth and didn't go well. It feels kind of like it has something to do with that. People looking for truth and having it kind of backfire on them. That happens a lot. Who's ever asked their friends a question of what's really going on here and have that person get really upset? It happens a lot. And so how many of us aren't affected by it? I think probably working theory is we're all affected by something like that, right?
You know what I'm seeing?
No.
What I'm seeing are the detectives.
Yeah.
The detectives who got involved in mafia cases.
And they wanted to know what was going on.
And they wanted to really fix it, and then they end up with their feet in concrete.
Right. And all the other detectives of any kind, detectives
right,
both
using
with
the
badges,
word detectives as like a larger term for people who are digging in the truth.
Trying to find out what's true.
Right.
And so how many detectives haven't had it really backfire when they're trying to find out what's true, and then things blow up in their face or in their lives, in their world.
Right.
There we go. But a horse and buggy, and it's a feeling of belief that justice is possible. This person is feeling happy about going to court. Today is my day in court. And this person is happy about it because a wrong has occurred in this person's mind. And now I'm going to court and it's going to be made right.
Right.
It's going to be made right. And then I get to court and you know what I have? A rude awakening. I have a rude awakening. It didn't get made right at all. It got made more wrong. Instead of being made right, things have gone worse for me, not better. Worse for me, not better. And I'm totally confused. And I feel like I just got thrown into jail for something when I thought that it was going to be made right.
Right.
And so I'm feeling like, what happened? I'm feeling, what happened?
It's like it was all a blur. Like you came in and then everything
went wrong.
Went awry.
When I know that I'm right. And I can look at that guy over there and he's smirking. He's smirking. Right. He knows he lied. He knows he lied, and he's smirking because he lied and got away with it. And he's really pleased. Where's the justice? Where's the justice? So now, here we are, working with all beings. Me too, me too. Me too, me too. Who among us hasn't ever come to a false conclusion? Who among us hasn't ever made a mistake? We've all come to false conclusions. And so now to heal this for all beings who made the mistake. Now that guy over there who's smirking, he intended to pull one over on the just judicial system. Right. And he did. But the judicial system wasn't intending to fall for it. The judicial system intended to do the right thing. And through a combination of like twisted rules and other twistings of interpretation, things getting twisted, justice didn't prevail.
Right.
So now, for all of us, because we've all messed up, who among us hasn't come to false conclusions? To clear this for all of us. Me too, me too, me too.
Come to false conclusions and acted on them.
Come to false conclusions and acted on them. Come to false conclusions and acted on them. Making a mistake, sometimes it can't be made undone, because I later on see this guy who was going feeling so happy, and he's hanging with a noose around his neck. So I don't think that action is going to be able to be undone, right?
Right.
Not for him in that body. There's always next life. There's always next life. So then there's the cover-up, because then oftentimes we realize in retrospect that we made a mistake. Sometimes we realize it right afterward that we made a mistake. But instead of cleaning up our mistake, that's what we should do, friends. We're all going to mess up. Guides and angels, higher dimension beings don't care when we mess up. They understand we're going to make a mistake. Nobody upstairs cares about that at all. What matters, and they care about this a lot, is that we acknowledge it right away and clean up our mess right away. As soon as we realize, oh, that was a mistake, to make it right. To make it right. And it could be 20 years later that we realize we made a mistake.
It could be in the next life.
It could be after we're dead. It could be after we're dead that we realize we make a mistake. Because right after we're dead, you know what happens? The come to Jesus talk, quote unquote, the guides call it that, with their tongue in their cheek. They literally do this, stick the tongue in their cheek, and they call it a come to Jesus talk. But what they mean is this: there is an accounting for all of our actions. Every thought, every word, every deed is recorded. Nothing goes unrecorded. Not with a harsh or judging attitude, but with a now we make it right attitude. And after we die, guess what we get to see? The movie of our life review, and it's all there, the good and the bad, the things we did well and the things we messed up on. And our guides don't care about the mistakes, they don't. But as long as we acknowledge them and make them right. And in the judicial system, this matters, friends. People are falsely accused. People are condemned to death, sentenced to death for crimes that they did not commit. It happens. It happens. It isn't right. And we as a country can do better. We can do better than that. We can. Now is the time for us to make a difference. We can. When we make a mistake, we as a country make a mistake, it's important to acknowledge it and say, well, that didn't work. Let's try again. It's the lid of what we think is possible. When we don't think it's possible, then we don't try. If we think we can't fix our mistake, we don't even try to make it right. Is that it? We just take off the lid of what we think is possible so that we realize that we can always correct our mistakes. So friends, it's actually never too late to correct an error. All time truly is now. And so now let's go back on behalf of our own lives, on behalf of our country, on behalf of our biosphere. Heaven knows we as a world have made a bunch of mistakes. And on behalf of our galaxy, I don't think it's any better in the wider sphere. Let's start to correct our errors for us and for all of us. It's important to remember that, friends. We all goof. We mess up all the time. All the time. Nobody cares about that. Nobody upstairs, none of the higher dimension beings care that we make mistakes. But they really care when we don't acknowledge it. And they really, really care when we don't make it right. So it's fine to goof, but then let's clean it up. Clean it up. Clean up our messes. Right away. Undo the harm we've done. Mystery mold of our mistakes, and I think what they're getting at, check me on this, is that when we deny that we've made mistakes and we suppress the acknowledgement that we make mistakes, and we just put the lid on and let it start to mold, and we start to even forget about the mistakes, conveniently forget about them, and then clearing them is a lot harder. We can't even, it's harder.
It's harder to get to them. We put other things in front of them and on top of them.
Yeah, ignoring it. So let's clear the mystery mold of the mistakes for ourselves and for all beings, for ourselves and for our country. And what we're seeing as warfare of our country over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, where we've done terrible things. We as a species are doing it. Humans are making mistakes the world over. We're treating our beautiful world like it's our personal garbage can, like we can throw our waste wherever we want and then it doesn't matter, and we can continue to pollute the environment and that it's okay.
Treating other species like punching bags.
Treating other species like they don't belong, right, or don't have any rights. We're pulsing the seas with sonar that blasts the eardrums of the whales and the marine mammals. That's not right, friends.
Who were there first and have nowhere else to go.
That is their home. They're water creatures. We're land creatures. We're destroying the silence of the seas. That's not right. There's no expectation of justice.
Right.
And so we know in pockets of our population there is, in fact, no expectation of justice. In certain segments of the population of this country, there is an expectation that justice won't prevail.
Right.
Would you agree?
Right.
That there is going to be injustice. There, for example, in the African American community, the black community, the male African Americans have such a high percentage of chance that they're going to be harassed by police and literally incarcerated, that they don't expect justice.
Right.
This isn't right. Something's gone wrong there. Probably multiple somethings have gone wrong. So but if we expect injustice, probably there's a cycle of bad going on.
Right.
So to now start to lift the cycle of bad, the whole cycle. Who's going to be a stand for truth? Where do we draw the line? Where does the buck stop? That's the fundamental question. Who's going to stand up and say, what's right is right? What's right is right? If it isn't the Supreme Court of the United States of America, right? Come on, friends.
But that doesn't mean we should leave the being a stand for truth up to the Supreme Court. It can start with you. It can start at the
personal level. For each of us to be a stand for truth. For each of us to be a stand for truth. For all of us. For all of us to live to the standards that we would like the Supreme Court to uphold. That's it. Me too, me too.
Me too, me too.
Me too, me too. And so, friends, don't we want the Supreme Court to be courageous?
Yes.
And take a stand for truth?
Yes.
No matter what?
Yes.
And should we not ask of ourselves that same standard, to be courageous?
Yes.
Be a stand for truth,
Yes.
no matter what?